Hey there, internet friends. Trevor Starkey here with another episode of TV Thursday, my weekly show where I sit down and talk about TV. This week, I'm going through Westworld, which I finally sat down and watched last weekend, since I went ahead and picked up HBO Go, or HBO Now, when Game of Thrones was coming out, so I was like, oh, now I can watch this other series I've heard great things about. I'm going to try and keep this spoiler-free for the first part of it, and then if I do go into spoilers, I'll throw a kind of a thing up for that. It was really interesting coming into this show because having like all of the Westworld hype on Twitter and stuff so recently, I kind of knew things about the show, but not like there were still a ton of surprises for me in actually watching the show because I had tuned out most of the Westworld stuff because I was like, I don't know what they're talking about, so I don't know what they're responding to. But the thing that did kind of stick with me was everybody was kind of like, oh my god, like the pace at which they're burning through story is like incredibly accelerated compared to a series like a standard TV show, like a network television show, probably could have gone through 3 or 4 seasons worth of episodes in the 10 episodes that you have in this first season of Westworld. They would have just kind of stretched out moments, but each episode was hitting like shocking reveal that could have been just elongated in most other kinds of stories. So that was like the one thing where I was like watching Westworld, I was like, I get what people were talking about now. That's definitely what happens here. There are a lot of great performances in here. Evan Rachel Wood, it does great work. Jeffrey Wright is one of those performers that I've liked pretty much in everything I've seen him in, and he's always a joy to see pop up in something. Going back to, I think, when I first saw him in Angels in America, which I watched back when I was much more in the theater world of things, I thought he was great in that, and then getting to see him pop up in things like The Hunger Games and stuff. He's definitely not in more mainstream stuff typically, like Hunger Games or like Westworld now. But he's always reliable and always a great performer, so I always love seeing him come up in something, and this is no difference. He just is great throughout this show. Ed Harris and Anthony Hopkins have consistently great, reliable, strong performances, as would be expected of veterans of their caliber in the world of this. Thandie Newton does great work. I'd never seen her in anything before this, so she was a delightful surprise. James Marsden's another one that I always love seeing, and he jokingly gets typecast as like the guy who, tries to get the girl but loses her or something like that. And so it's fun that they kind of have a wink and a nudge to the audience and play towards that. Even from like the first episode and stuff in here, there's kind of that like, oh, he's such a good guy, but somebody else gets the girl. And lastly, a little shout out to Jimmy Simpson, who plays a character named William in this, and he has a lot of great moments that I think will be even much more impressive to me upon a rewatch because of kind of how the show doles out its surprises that make you kind of have to reevaluate what has come before. There's a lot of that great stuff in here, and so he in particular has a lot of stuff that one of the late in the series reveals had me going like, oh, okay, now I want to go back and see kind of what all that other stuff from a new lens. So great performances, and like I just said, kind of there's a lot of great twists and turns to the story here. Westworld, if you don't know, speaking in very non-spoilery kind of big broad strokes, is about effectively like a big high-end theme park for the elite where people can spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to come to this like Wild West experience where they get fully decked out in costume and they go into like a little kind of backwater Wild West town, and from there they can go and do whatever they want. They can go on adventures kind of sparked from the town themselves. Like you can go on like a bounty hunt, or you can go tour, the Mexican town across the way or whatever. And all of that is kind of guided by hosts, which are effectively like robot people and AI and stuff like that. And the the narratives that all of these characters kind of have intertwine with one another, but they allow for improvisation. And so you can have kind of a character going through their normal loop, but then if a guest comes and interrupts that loop, be it by just shooting the host, things kind of adjust and reverberate out. And so part of the drama of the show is these AI characters with their guests and kind of how the guests are exploring the world, as well as the kind of maintenance team behind the park, who are always constantly updating the hosts and giving them new little tweaks and whatnot here and there. And the hosts are kind of always, if they're shot, they get taken underground for cleaning and repair, and then they get launched back out into the real world for new guests to come and experience them. But as is typically the case when you start working with AI stuff, there's kind of glitches that start kind of manifesting, and what's the cause of them? That kind of ends up becoming kind of some of the bigger kind of mysteries of the series. You have Anthony Hopkins playing kind of the architect of the whole park, who's been at this for like 35 years, and he's constantly refining, and he can walk around the park and just kind of like wave his hand and freeze the hosts. And there's a lot of stuff at play in here kind of for the audience, because we don't know necessarily what to believe. We don't know from the off who's a guest, who's a host. And like I said, it allows for the show to have a lot of fun with twists and turns and misdirects and reveals and stuff like that. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Westworld. I think that I actually kept that pretty much entirely spoiler-free. I definitely could go into spoilers and have some fun talking about that, but I think that's enough to leave it here. There's just a great story here, lots of great characters. I'm very excited to see where the series goes next, and I'm really glad I finally got into this. So those are my thoughts on Westworld. Let me know what you think about the show if you saw the first season in the comments below. As always, I've been your host, Trevor Starkey from TrevorTrove.com. You can follow me at SnarkyStarkey on Twitter. And until next time, from here at the Trove, treasure your friends.